Guys, welcome to my live session. So today we're going to be talking about NHS jobs with visa sponsorship. Finally have our guest here, and I know you guys have she's the expert on this NHS band 2 band 3 everything question that you have.
All right, thank you very much, Yetty, for having me. So for the benefit of those of your subscribers that do not know me, my name is Laura and I'm the CEO and founder of Grammatorial Education.
A couple of questions written down, and I want you to so can you tell us more about the current NHS recruitment drive for band 3 healthcare assistant?
All right, Yetty, I joined you when you were answering some questions and just talking generally. I think a general overview would be that towards the end of last year, there were a lot of uncertainties in the international recruitment market. The NHS, as we all know, is the largest employer of labor in the United Kingdom. So what they do is that they employ a lot of staff and they depend hugely on international workers for their skilled professions, I would say. So what we're talking about tonight is band 3. Band 3 is as a higher role than the normal carer or caregivers. So having said that, you need to be skilled, you need to have clinical skills, you need to have, specific skills that they are looking for. The NHS have resumed their recruitment of international workers following all the government changes and all the government, immigration rules that came out in March and April. So we started to see lots of trust in London and around England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and then Scotland resume their international recruitment drive. Fundings have been released for this trust. Having said that, not all the trust, because I would see people coming to say, no, my trust is not recruiting. Not all the trust. That is why the NHS has they have so many trusts scattered around the UK. They have over 600 hospitals. So the fact that trust A is not recruiting does not mean that trust B is not recruiting. So as long as that particular role is above the threshold is 23,200. So if you're able to get a role that is above the threshold and you know the trusts that are recruiting, then you can be sure of getting a visa sponsorship outside of the UK, or if you're already in the UK and you want to get a switch, to the SOC code that the NHS sponsors for clinical support workers or healthcare assistants, then you can be sure that you will get it. So this is a summary of the huge or massive recruitment drive that we are beginning to see across the NHS trusts in England, Scotland.
Okay. I want to ask one question that I'm seeing on my screen right now. Does NHS sponsor? Let's clarify. There's been a lot of rumors that NHS, they don't sponsor. Some will say they sponsor. Okay, grammatorial education, based off your over how many years of experience that you've been dealing with recruitment and especially within the NHS sector, be honest with us. Does NHS sponsor?
Okay, so I'm coming here live to tell you that NHS sponsors. They will sponsor as long as your salary threshold is above the immigration rules. NHS was sponsoring massively last year until a certain point. So let me give you a broad understanding. Now, every trust has an allocation, and they have an allocation based on defined and undefined COS. It's beyond the scope of this video to start explaining what that means. But for those that know, you know. So once their allocation is exhausted for defined, they will need to apply for more. So during the process of application, if you go to them, they may not be sponsoring at that time T. And if their allocation for undefined is exhausted for that year, they may not be able to sponsor you. So what you need to do is to try another trust. So if a given trust T was sponsoring in March, by maybe June, they might have exhausted their allocations and they are under the process of application. So they may not be sponsoring for 3 months. And they're not going to come out with a trumpet or with a loudspeaker to say, okay, we've just applied and we've gotten an allocation now, everybody come, we are sponsoring. The onus lies on you as the applicant or you as the person that is looking for sponsorship. So keep going. If you know what to do, if you know how to look for it, if you know how to approach them, that is the work that you need to do. So sponsorship is not going to fall on your laps. Or because you have a sister that works in one trust that told you that they are not sponsoring, that means another trust across the country is not sponsoring. So the onus rely on you to search it out. Nobody's going to throw that information out on the streets to tell you that this is the trust that is recruiting, or they're not going to come out and tell you we are giving sponsorship. It is your duty, it's your responsibility to find it out. So in sponsoring from band 3 and above. So band 3 are senior carer, senior healthcare assistants, occupational therapy assistant, speech and language therapy assistant, radiography assistant, ophthalmic technician.
So nobody should come back and ask me, is NHS sponsoring? You have a life and direct, and I'm sure that you can also go online and just research and go on track. You see lots of job with sponsorship for NHS role as well. So NHS do sponsor, and like you said, it depends on the particular trust and when they are recruiting. Of course, if this one is recruiting now, that does not mean that that one will also recruit. It's a matter of demand. They don't need staff at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Next question: what are the key benefits of this NHS recruitment campaign, especially for international applicants? What do they stand to gain working with the NHS?
A lot to stand to gain. Number one, career progression. So working with the NHS, you can be sure of trainings. You can be sure you're working in a world-class organization. You can be sure of your pay. You're going to have good pay. People complain about the NHS pay, but I think it's fair enough. It's better than some other maybe domiciliary or care homes that we know. Maybe not as great as private. I know of private hospitals that pay way better than the NHS, but you can be sure of a fair pay. You can be sure of fair standards of working. You can be sure that you have your job is protected, job security. You're not just going to wake up and find out that your COS has been revoked or you've lost your job. So you can be sure of that security. And then the NHS, depending on the role that you're applying for under band 3, if it's a nursing assistant or if it's a clinical role, you can be sure that you will get a sponsorship that will allow you to switch with your dependents or move with your dependents under 6131 or depending on the code. So I've seen people that got roles like assistants, occupational therapists or assistant radiographer. They got a different code from carers and they were able to switch with their dependents. So these are some of the, the benefits that you will get from working with the NHS. I think that the benefits far outweigh the, will I call it the pain that you go through in making the application, the time that you put into making the application, because I'm not going to lie to you that it's so easy with this, just the wand of your magic, you're just going to get it. No, you can't pay anybody to get it. You can't do anything to get it. You just have to follow the process, the due process, make sure you meet all the requirements, which we can talk about later. Once you get it, you have gotten it, and you can be rest assured that you will have peace of mind. You do not need to be checking the sponsorship license every day to find out if their license has been revoked. You can be sure of that job stability, that career progression, and peace of mind working with the NHS.
Yeah, that your last point, it's the nail on the head. We all know that every time you're with like a private care home, you're just praying from the bottom of your heart that God, don't let these people do something that will make them withdraw the license and things like that. Because once the license is withdrawn, everybody working in that organization is gone. But with the NHS cannot withdraw their own license, and that's the honest truth. They cannot. So if you secure an NHS job, you're guaranteed that after, as long as you, of course, you don't do anything wrong and they fire you, you probably, do anything to, and like a misconduct or things like that. If you're well behaved in 5 years, you will definitely get your indefinite leave to remain. And after 5 years, you can be the NHS bye-bye once you have your passport or your indefinite, because the only thing stopping migrants in this country, trust me, is that visa. That point where you finally get your ILR, you can open doors for yourself. It's just that, sacrifice you need to make, and you just have to look at the bigger picture. Thank you so much, Laura, for saying that. I mean, that job stability is key. So the next one, how does the visa sponsorship process work for those applying for this healthcare assistant position? Okay, so before we go into the visa sponsorship, shall we talk about how can you get the job? Okay. Because I think that's the step to get the job. Why are you getting unfortunately? There are so many reasons why you could be getting unfortunately. Number one, NHS, they have a criteria. So no matter how hard pressed they are for workers, no matter how
short they are on staff, they will not, go beyond their standard. So if you go on a certain job, you're going to see that there are essential criteria and desirable criteria. If you do not meet the essential criteria, please do not bother applying for the job, because you're going to get unfortunately. So even if you meet the essential criteria, which for band 3 is usually MVQ3 or your level 3 diploma in health and social care, RQF, or endorsed, and then maybe relevant experience in a hospital setting. There are certain maybe clinical skills they would like you to have, like venipuncture, cannulation, ECG, catheter, wound drainage dressing. If you do not meet those criteria, the essential criteria, you're going to get a rejection. If you meet the essential criteria and you're not able to demonstrate how you meet the criteria in your personal statement, you are going to get a rejection. So these are some of the reasons. It's beyond the scope of this life to tell you all the reasons why you're getting a rejection without knowing your personal circumstances. So I can tell you that these are some of the reasons, or majority of the reasons, why you will be getting, a rejection. So in order to get these jobs, just giving you the reasons why you get rejected, please, you need to ensure that you're applying for a job that is a permanent role. You're applying for a job that is band 3. Band 3 role is a senior role, so you must have had relevant experience. NHS want people for clinical roles that have worked in a, in a hospital setting. So you've worked in a very busy hospital setting. NHS hospitals are very busy. The wards are very, very busy. So they want to make sure that you've had experience of working in such setting. You've been able to work long shifts as well. So experience is key. You're able to demonstrate your experience, both on your online track CV and on your supporting statements. They also want to make sure that you are trained. So like some people don't just think that because maybe care in the UK, you are not regulated or you don't have license to practice, means that it's unregulated. No, the healthcare sector is a regulated sector. So you need to be trained at band 3 level to MVQ level 3 or level 3 diploma. And once you have this and you are able to package your application and answer all the questions correctly, you understand the trust values, you can be rest assured that you'll be well on your way to getting an interview. And then from the interview, you are well prepared for the interview, which is something we do at Grammatorial. You are well equipped for the interview. There should be no problem why you will not get the job. So I would say this is a summary of how to get the band 3 role, or how to ace the band 3 application and, interview process.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about doing 100 application every day.
No.
You have to do quality application, check that you meet the desired qualification as well as the essential one. Not that you're just submitting. So, because if you do 1,000, you get 1,000 rejection if you're not doing it right. So this is not where you say keep applying, you get one. There's
no.
Most time it
tells me that they're applying for 10 jobs in a day, I know that they're definitely not doing something right, because it takes me at least 30 minutes to really read through an application, to understand the application, understand the job requirements, because it's job requirement, to read the job overview. I know of so many people that don't even read the job description, the person specification, the information about the trust, because every trust has their own values and they want to employ people that are a good fit for their culture and their values. So you must be able to integrate the trust values into your supporting statements. You must be. Imagine you're inviting someone to come and live in your house that doesn't share your values, is not aligned with your purpose. You're going to have problems. So they want to make sure that they are employing staff that share the same values as them. So you are applying for an NHS trust that you don't even know what their values are. You don't know what their core values are. The core values must be reflected in your supporting statement. So these are some of the reasons why you may be getting a rejection.
Oh, wow. Thanks for that. You've even answered my next question. Okay, there was a question I was asking before. So how does this visa sponsorship process work for those applying for this healthcare assistant position?
Okay, so for the visa sponsorship, you need to make sure you meet the requirements. That is why you will see on the NHS jobs, they will say applicants that need a visa sponsorship are welcome and would need to self-assess. So you must self-assess whether you meet the requirements. The main requirements I would say is that you have the English language test. If you're already in the UK, you have your DBS cleared, or if you're outside the UK, you have a police certificate clearance. Those are the two major requirements for your visa application. So if you can self-assess that you pass the English language test, then by all means you can apply. And then passing the trust or the hospital's own criteria is a different ball game altogether. So like I said earlier, if you're applying for a role as a nursing assistant, a senior nursing assistant, an occupational therapist, a radiography assistant, a pharmacy assistant, and any other assistive role, theater assistant, then you will get an SOC code that is related to that role. I don't remember off the top of my head what all the SOC codes are, but I think that there is a different SOC code for occupational therapists, which is like 2222. There's a different code for assistant psychologists. So you will get that SOC code under your COS, which describes your job role. So let's take, for example, your job role is as maybe a speech and language therapist, and you are required to provide therapy assistance and therapy support for people that have difficulty with swallowing, difficulty with speaking, maybe they've just had an operation, and that is what is listed on your job description. So your SOC code will reflect that job description. As we all know, the SOC codes that have been restricted from bringing dependents are the carer and senior carer role. And most of the roles that we are talking about in Band 3 are not just your regular carer and senior carer. They are higher roles or higher bands. So you will get, a sponsorship that can allow you to switch with your family, with your dependents, or bring in your dependents. The NHS will issue you a COS once you have passed all your pre-employment checks. Once you are through the onboarding stage. So they've checked your references, they've checked your qualifications, they've checked your certificates, and they're happy with everything. Then your COS will be issued. The process usually takes anything from 1 month to 3 or 4 months. It could be a lengthy process. You could be lucky that it will be fast, but I would say when you're applying for NHS, please give plenty of time because you cannot rush them. They follow a very strict recruitment, protocol or regiment, and they have to do everything. So you can have a file sitting on one person's table, and for 2 weeks, they are doing their own checks. You can't rush them and tell them, my visa is expiring tomorrow. Please, I need you to hurry up. No. So please make sure that you give yourself plenty of time. Give yourself at least 3 months for the application process. And once they are through and they are satisfied with all your pre-employment checks, your occupational health, all your onboarding has been done, then you will get issued your COS. Once you get your COS, some trust will give you relocation support. Some trust will just tell you that this is your COS, go and apply for visa yourself. I know of trusts that have given a certain amount, I'm not going to mention, but in thousands for relocation assistance. They've paid for flight tickets, they've paid for even up to your taxi to arrive at the hospital, and they've given accommodation. So I think that's the best you can see. That's what they do for international nurses. But for Band 3 healthcare assistants, it is unlikely that you will get an accommodation. Unlikely, I said. That does not mean it's impossible. It's unlikely that they will apply for your visa for you. They will just give you your COS and you apply for your visa yourself. And they could or they could not, depending on which trust, give you some assistance or support with your relocation. So this is, I would say that these are the timelines and the general procedure for obtaining your COS and your visa.
Okay. I saw a question that I couldn't miss. I saw a Band 2 healthcare assistant role advert recently, and they said in the publication that those needing COS will be considered alongside all other applications. Does it mean that they will sponsor? If they say they will consider you, they will consider you. With sponsorship, is not even the title of the band. What matters is the salary threshold. So it can be, even if it's a Band 5 role and they are paying below, I know Band 5 cannot pay 20,000, but hypothetically, a Band 5 role is on advert and they are paying £20,000. £20,000 is not the salary threshold. So even if you get that Band 5 role and require sponsorship, you will not get it. Even if they issue you the sponsorship and you apply for visa, you will not get it because you have missed the salary threshold requirement. So it's, forget about the band title, check the salary. Is it 23,000 and above? If yes, apply for it. There might be some Band 3 role as well that is 20,000 salary and not up to the threshold. So it won't qualify, but that does not mean that Band 3 roles do not sponsor. Okay, so I come your way next time, guys. Bye, guys. Stay best. Bye.